Welcome to Leadership Bites with myself, your host, Guy Bloom. This is a leadership podcast where I have conversations with colleagues, I chat with guests, and sometimes there'll be just me talking. You can connect with me at livingbrave.com, and when you enjoy the episode, subscribe and please tell everyone. It's the pretense of professionalism. That's what I'm going for. So, Ali, lovely to have you on this episode of Leadership Bites. Welcome.
Thanks, Guy. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's almost long overdue. We've discussed this now a few times, and we've managed to make it happen in the melee of our day jobs. So good to be here. Now, I always start these off by saying I know who you are, which is true because by definition I've invited you on. But just introduce yourself to people and let them know what you do and where you put your focus.
So, hi everybody, I'm the founder of Simply Brillaince, which is an online platform that connects corporates with brilliant, I have to emphasise brilliant, learning and development and HR suppliers at a time and a place which works for them.
So, I'll profess my vested interest. I'm on the Simply Brillaince platform, and I didn't do so lightly because I always think there's a credibility by association piece that goes with where you are and what you do. So I just wanted to, and the reason I asked you on is I just wanted to have a conversation with somebody who is dealing with that, I guess, junction point of actually putting people together. And, in some respects, portals are not a new thing where, that's where that supplier is or whatever it is. So before we get into the nitty gritty of it, just give me a sense of that journey to you thinking, this is something I need to do. This is the reason for me doing it. Because, it already existed as a concept and as something in the market. But what drove you? What was the catalyst? What was the passion behind it? Bring that to life for me if you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting you say it already existed because I would potentially argue a little bit against that. There were Brilliant. Variations of, I'd say that there were directories. You could use Google. There were some companies that did matching. There are some conferences. There's those sort of things in the market. But as a practitioner, having worked over 15 years in L&D and absolutely loving my time in L&D and being obsessed with people development and enjoying every co-creative moment with suppliers doing some brilliant stuff in large and medium-sized organisations, I was really familiar with that world. And one of my biggest frustrations, which is really the catalyst for Simply Brillaince, was that I couldn't find suppliers at my point of need. So there was, at the time, before Simply Brillaince existed, there was, you could go to conferences, which were, personally, I wasn't a fan. I found them just stressful and expensive and tiring. And not necessarily on at the times where I wanted to be looking for, where I was looking for suppliers. So there was those conferences, and there was the word of mouth, which was great, but not everybody had the same context that I was working in. So maybe I had a peer who was in a business, but it was a different type of business, different type of context, and that's a whole different scenario. So my biggest challenge was, how do I find suppliers at my point of need to help me deliver brilliance in my organisation? And the organisations I worked with were really good brands. They invested a lot in their people, and their leaders were strong, and they expected a great product and a great service. So my challenge was, why can I not do this? Why can I not do it 8 o'clock at night when I'm in my slippers? Because I can get everything else at 8 o'clock at night in my slippers while I'm like one eye on Netflix. Why can I not do it now? So that was the one big catalyst for building Simply Brillaince. There was nothing in the market, and I personally needed it, and my peers needed it. So that was the starting point. And at that point, I had a couple of business partners or peers that we worked on this together, and they're still, they're still a part of the business, but they've stepped back now, and they work in an advisory role. But they were, we sat at night and in evenings building this, deciding what does great look like, asking the community, HR community and the L&D community, and creating what we found was a real blend of the really good stuff of everything that was out there, and creating a completely new product.
And what is that? Because one of the things that stands out when you visit the website is just, and this may even sound a little bit daft, but the energy of it comes through in the branding of it, and that's not easily done. I think people can have a strong sense of what they want to achieve, but sometimes it comes out a bit flat or a bit contrived. But there's a kind of I'm going to use the word jubilance about it. I don't know why that word just jumped into my head, but there's a kind of, there is that in it. So just talk me through, we'll go through a few factors, but let's just look at the way it looks and just what led into that way of maybe, as you say, not doing a directory per se that's bland and 2D, but something that jumps out at you. Just walk me through that, because I know you're constantly organically upgrading anyway, and there's probably another iteration around the corner, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It was precisely that kind of jumping out, and we knew that, firstly, our value set, and my value set in particular, is about fun. I worked for the Virgin brand many years ago, and that was the closest to my inner values. Their belief in fun and challenging the norm and excellent customer service, and all those great values were really close to my heart, and I felt really at one when I worked for that business. And cultural fit is so important, and we all believed that there was a room out there for a business that didn't take itself too seriously, but was serious about the important stuff. And that's our values. We want to have a bit of fun. We want to have a bit of fun with our marketing. We want to bring vibrancy and colour in. We saw people development as fun, as amazing leadership development when done right, when everybody's involved and everybody's up for it, everybody's understands the direction of travel and what it takes to get there, and helping people improve and build confidence. It's an amazing thing. It's brilliant. So why were we seeing grey? Why was it so grey and bland out there? We couldn't understand it. And we wanted to bring all of our passion and our vibrancy and our energy and our belief in fun and challenging what's already existing into our business. And we worked with a great brand guy called A Brand's Best Friend, a bit of a plug for Steve there, and he just did some mood boards, and we got the Virgin stuff on there, and I think he really captured it. I really think he captured the essence of what we're about and continue to be about.
I do love it. Every time I go to it, I have a little smile. So that definitely always makes me, especially the zebra.
Yeah.
There must have been a point where somebody went, "Are we going with the zebra?" But obviously, and it works. It pops out. Yeah. So, thinking about that, okay, so there's a way a thing looks. It can be attractive, it can be appealing, it can be easy on the eye, and it kind of gives you a sense maybe of the characteristics of the people that are going to be, found within. How do you, and this is a question I'm really quite fascinated by, how do you look and keep and maintain quality of supplier? Because everybody thinks they're great. Everybody tells you that they can break bread and walk on water, etc. And the credibility of any intervention is on the experience that people have of it. So how do you approach that?
So there's a couple of ways that we do it, and they work in tandem. Really, is we talk to their customers. So the supplier comes cold and wants to join us on the platform, and we haven't got any prior knowledge. They haven't come through a recommendation. Then we will always we have the initial values chats, just like we're having now, and that's a real human to human thing. That's what's your business about, what's our business about, what are you trying to achieve, what are we trying to achieve, is there synergies there, do we operate in a similar way, do we have a similar value set and belief system, are we both really passionate about developing people and wanting the very best for organisations, because they are operating in a competitive landscape. It's tough out there. So do we understand that on a very basic level? And then there's really kind of, so if we actually go, yeah, do you know what, we really like each other, we really want to work together, there's a real opportunity here, then the next stage is about us talking to their customers, their customers, their existing customers that they've worked with. And I often ask for a mix of customers where they've been maybe large scale organisation and then a smaller organisation, or dependent on the products and services, if just a differing context really. And I will talk to them, have a chat, and we will talk about their experience, and we'll get quite deep into how they found working with consultancy. They're really brilliant conversations, I have to say, because I'm talking to senior leaders in corporates that are like, they've got a huge plate full of stuff, and these consultancies have taken the edge off. They've taken the hard work and the legwork, and they've done some amazing stuff with them. And it's really warming to have those conversations, because it reaffirms what we already knew, that brilliant suppliers can change. It can be transformational for individuals and companies.
So the ability to use your Simply Brillaince site as a shopping centre for, I'm looking for something and I might not know quite what it is, but I want to see what's out there. And I guess people can do that. But then there is something about that connection with you and the team, and working with you in a kind of hand in glove, guided, almost like a personal shopper kind of thing. And just talk to me about how you work with companies to say, listen, look, rather than you try and figure out what we've got, I know what we've got. Let me understand and guide you through that. How do you work with organisations one-on-one, Ali?
So as you say, dependent on the project, there's a number of ways that organisations can use this. As say, you can go in and search. Very very simple communication skills in. Lots of suppliers will come up. You can have a browse through. That's the 8 o'clock at night in your slippers thing. Have a browse through, see who you like, connect through the site or connect through their website, however you want to do that. And that's a really simple model. You can also drop in a project. So I actually know what I want, and I know what budget I've got, and I know what my outcomes are, and I really just want to, I actually haven't got the time to search. So you can pop your project in, and that'll bring up, depending on the number of suppliers, that you get a substantial amount of responses there of suppliers that we're sort of giving you a taste of what they can do in that space, which is a really great tool to have, especially when you haven't got time, or if you're delegating down to somebody who's a little bit more junior than you and you're asking them to go find me X supplier. But if you've and it tends to be the slightly larger programs that you actually just want to push it around with somebody and have a chat with somebody who understands your challenges and you can brief them on your context, then I'm more than happy to have a chat with organisations where I will then take their RFP essentially, and not in the heavy formulaic sense, more there's a light touch one pager, but just understanding what they want, what they're looking for, what their context is, what their challenge is, some non-negotiables, and really getting into detail with them on a phone call. And then I can make recommendations, and there's 2 ways in which this then moves forward. I can make recommendations and make I'll put the search into Simply Brillaince, and then I'll find the suppliers and I'll look through it and I'll compare it to their RFP, and then I'll send them some recommendations for them to get in touch with these suppliers, or there's a slightly more in-depth version where they can. I can do a little bit more of the work, where I will identify the suppliers, I will tee them up, I will support them through that very simple RFP process. None of the, I've heard of some real horror stories on RFP processes, but as is quite a simple process. And I could do that with any organisations, and it tends to be. When there's quite a few asks, or it's quite complex, or it's very niche, or there's very, very specific requirements.
I've found the couple of times we've had a chat incredibly useful from that written input that may have been supplied to you, almost putting a translation on it or just an insight in it that says, I know that's what it says. However, having spoken, what I just notice is I think what they're really asking for, or actually knowing you, Guy, I think what they really would want to hear from you about is. So I think that capacity is vast. So what are the give me a sense of maybe some of the success stories that you can kind of say I can. There's a pride there around maybe some of the things that the site has enabled and the work has done.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I think every time I hear of a successful connection, I get a little bit of I still get really excited, because it proves that all the hard work, and you know yourself in your own business, there's a lot of hard work goes into it. A lot of hard work you can't really quantify. A lot of thinking, a lot of effort and worry in some cases, and it just verifies and solidifies what I always believed in very early on, that there is a need for this. There is a need for somewhere where we can highlight brilliant boutique, what we call boutique and unique suppliers, because they're the ones that are going to help you change the game. They're dead flexible. They're really up to date. They get you. They're personally invested in it, and they're going to help you move that dial. So the ones that haven't got the huge marketing budgets to be continually up there all the time, and everybody knows them. You can find those guys. These are the guys that are going to help you make the difference. So anyway, I've just got on my soapbox bit with that one. But back to your question, I got a call. One of the moments. Some of the moments come out of nowhere. One of the suppliers emailed me. We were talking about, would you like to renew year 2 kind of thing? And she just did, I got some great connections through the site. I was like, wow, I didn't know that. You need to tell me that next time, because I didn't know that, and I need to know that. But one of the biggest ones, and if he's listening, he'll know, is a small consultancy, 2 great guys. One of them rang me Christmas Eve. And I was having one of those, oh my goodness, I've let somebody down moments. What have I done? Has the tech broken? What's going on? And I was like, and he's like, hi, just wanted to say hello. I was like, hi. And he's like, I just wanted to say, because I think this is going to make your Christmas, that we won a project, which is a national rollout for a company, and they never would have found us if it hadn't have been for Simply Brillaince, or a northern consultancy. And I was like, absolutely, it made my Christmas. It genuinely made my Christmas, because this is what Simply Brillaince is all about, is helping brilliant suppliers who find their perfect partner, and there's a perfect partners out there for everybody. So that was one of my favourite moments. I think that will go down in history as one of my favourite moments, actually, of Simply Brillaince. So things like that. There's been some great RFP processes. There's been some great connections made where I've just sent details of, and people have had great conversations and started working. Brilliant. But the moments, some of the key moments, that has to be a standout one for me, because it came at just the right time as well.
And I really resonate with that, where I'm not a massive consultancy. There's me with a small team for when I land on those bigger opportunities, and I don't want to be a large consultancy. And of course, the people that know me incredibly well, and I have people that doesn't matter where they go, I get a phone call, it's that 3rd time or that 4th time, I've just moved to, I just like to get you in with the team, and I go, fantastic, and that's a beautiful thing. But of course, I only know who I know. And I don't have that advertising budget to be constantly, on the top of those search engines or to be putting out branding and marketing on a continual basis. So, of course, there are many versions of me where individuals or partnerships or small groups are doing this fabulous work, but no bugger knows who they are.
Absolutely.
So there is something very exciting about having a place. And I do like this idea of, simply brilliant, which is I just want somebody, I don't know if it's quite simple. I want somebody brilliant, or it's just simply brilliant that we can go there. I don't know which way it works, but it doesn't matter. But there's just something very appealing about, where do I go for? I don't want that large corporate massive. If I'm such a big concern that I need a global rollout and it's all got to be the same and inherently generic and true, of course I understand that, hey, if you need people in every country globally, that's a different kettle of fish. But the reality is I just need somebody to work with this team over here, or maybe do something bigger that they can ramp up. It doesn't matter what it is. But how do I find somebody that's going to not offer me something that they've just done 100 times before? Somebody that will sit with me and understand me and pay attention and pick up on the nuances and almost become, other people might think they actually work here, but actually we have to remind ourselves that they're external because they become one of the team. And, where do I go to for that? So I think that's what I'm hearing in you, which is that sense of becoming known and being the place to go to for that kind of experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've had some great feedback recently from corporates that have just said, I know this is what you set out to do, but you've just made my life so much easier. And it was such a great and simple process. And it creates so much of a headache trying to find suppliers for projects. You shouldn't be wasting your time, looking for suppliers. It should be easy to do. And that's what Simply Brillaince gives you. When you work in organisations, you should be focusing on your people and your projects. The searching is one headache that we're taking away from you. I remember being at my large orange supermarket chain, which was amazing, and they invest heavily in their leaders and they're brilliant. I loved working for them. But my role was pressurised because of the amount that I was juggling in my workload. I didn't need that extra time spent. I needed that time back. It was either for me, but I didn't want to be looking for suppliers. Having 2 days of supplier beauty parades, I suppose, in essence. And they're not great for the supplier. They might be coming from Scotland or, Southwest, and they're doing an hour and a half, 2 hours on the train to have 1 hour in our office. And, that's not good for suppliers. It's not good for the environment. And it's not good for the organisation, because you've got 2 days out of the room. You've probably got 5 of you in the room on, I can't imagine what those salary works out as in terms of a cost. That's gone. Simply Brillaince, you can go and look and you can trust what you find. If you actually need to speak to somebody, you can speak to me. I've got a lot of experience in sourcing suppliers and in L&D and in HR, and I'm there to help you. So and we will always have a human element. I really don't believe it's all about tech. We're human first, tech second. Tech will enable, but it's about having that human there that's going to help you, save you time and save you money, essentially.
And I think that's massive. That, who can I trust? Who do I trust that has got my back? That if I say, listen, can you just let me tell you what the gig is, and then can you just tell me who I should be speaking to? Or just give me 2 people to speak to. And make it that give me 2 people, and it's as in I don't know which one to choose because they're both great. Give me a first world problem, right? As opposed to as to anything else. And I think and we will do that. That's really absolutely important. Give you a first world problem. Yeah, we will.
Yeah,
that's great, isn't it?
If looking at the suppliers, it's always a game of inches when in that choice. It's a cultural fit. It's a small amount of experience over and above in your niche area. It's never a choice of, oh, they're great and they're not. It's never that. It will always be, there's just a nuance. And anyway, my belief is there's a need to have great suppliers in your toolbox. Your preferred suppliers list should be constantly refreshed, and you should have great suppliers into your work. So if you don't use them for this project because you've used somebody else, then use them for another, and then maybe bring them together to work on a project, because clashing suppliers together is amazing, because you get two brilliant brains, two groups of brilliant brains, brilliant approaches, and if they're good and they're flexible and they get it, they've got an abundance mentality and they get it's for the greater good, and they want to work with you like a friendship, then they will work together. And I spoke to a large organisation a couple of years ago about this, and they were like, we brought in 3 suppliers and they worked and they did some amazing stuff. So I'm absolutely all for that. But you have to have the suppliers in your tool bag to start off with, and that's where we come in.
And that's really true, isn't it? You've got to have people that don't work in isolation, people that actually have a sense of contribution, people that have a sense of their own validity and don't need to kind of be the only one, or these kind of things. Of course, you want people that have got expertise. If it's just you, show us the way. But at the same time, if we've got a model we've used before, work with us, align to it. Don't tell me that's a rubbish one and I've got to use yours. We just spent 2 years training it in.
Absolutely.
So we want to keep it. These kind of things. So that having that kind of group of people that can make sense of what already exists, are happy to work with what's already in place or other people that you're bringing in. A lot of headaches, having been previously in L&D roles back in the day, a lot of the headache with a supplier could be their unwillingness to bend or flex. I'm not talking about integrity and things like that, but just, we don't do it like that. Yeah. You go, that's going to be a bit tricky because we just spent £500,000 last year training that in. So we're definitely not getting rid of it. And just some people don't want to move, and it's to have those kind of people is hugely important.
Yeah, and I think that's where agility, agile mindset, flexibility, the ability to drop your ego for the greater good, and if you understand your topic, subject matter well enough, you can flex around anything that's already good. You can see how it all fits together.
Yeah, I really like that. Of course, we all come with our own toolboxes. So guess what? I've got mine. And so if you said, look, God, we've got nothing, I'll go, well, hey ho, don't worry, I've got a whole kit bag here. Yeah. But actually, the reality is, it's only my version of somebody else's. And of course, I might think it's particularly good because that's why I use it. But the truth is, they think theirs is too. Yeah. So you're right. It's not getting stuck up on that particular model, that particular frame of reference. It's all those. That's just a vehicle and a mechanism for the experience and all the other stuff that you bring. So I really see that. So looking into the future, Ali, and I don't know if you're able to, it might be top secret, yet to be revealed or whatever it is. But where does the future take Simply Brillaince? What does it do, and what does it become, or it's what it is, and I want just more of it over the next few years, or where are you going with?
We have quite a few exciting things on the horizon, which I can't reveal yet. I don't think. However, it will always be about making people's lives easier, highlighting brilliance, keeping things simple. And supporting and championing those boutique and unique suppliers so that organisations have got quality and choice. I think, interestingly, brilliantly, we are moving our technology development over to a brilliant company based in the Netherlands called Do Good Only, who have a social enterprise, and they support the upskilling of women from disadvantaged backgrounds. So I'm really proud and pleased about that. We are looking at how we can ensure that we are supporting climate-friendly initiatives. Can't say too much about that, but we're making sure that we've got our house in order as well. So we're looking at various ways of demonstrating that at the moment, because we are a climate-friendly option. You don't need to go flying off to Europe to meet 20 suppliers, which if that's what you want to do, that's fine for me. It doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit well with the climate, with what we need to do for our planet. So we're an alternative to that. If it's something that's important to you, then we've got something for you. Same with conferences, up and down those motorways and stuff. It's just not great. But we're really looking at that, making sure that we do make the right decisions in the right way for everybody. I'd love to, and this may or may not happen, but I'd love to know if your listeners and viewers would what their thoughts are on this. But I'd love to do an event that absolutely blows every other event out of the water. So I've already got a title, which I'm not going to share in case anyone steals it. I don't think anyone will, because it's suitably Simply Brillaince, a little bit wacky. But I think there's some amazing thinkers out there. I think there's some brilliant futurists and some awesome suppliers that really would challenge the status quo and really support businesses getting fit for the future. And so I think that so I think there's a little bit of a discussion at the moment going on about whether we do a Simply Brillaince event. It would be virtual. We don't do anything face to face because of that pledge. But there's a few, and there's a couple of little. I wouldn't say little, but there's a couple of organisational focused initiatives that are going to make organisations' lives even easier in the new year. So if you have a preferred suppliers list, or you want a preferred suppliers list, but you want brilliant ones on it, or you use a managed service and maybe you're not happy with it and you're not getting what you want from it, then we'll have a Simply Brillaince option next year. So you can always just drop me a line and we can chat. And you have to like zebras, of course, and bright colours. Well,
that's a prerequisite.
Yeah,
so I'm going to bring us to a close. I think that's. I love this. It's a great conversation. The energy that you have, I find quite intoxicating. I find it very engaging, and I know as an experience for the client, that's the experience that they'll have of feeling more secure. They'll feel safe. They'll feel as if they're in safe hands, and they'll have a sense of, and it is something I've really come to understand, that sometimes you come off a conversation and you don't have a lot of hope, or you think, oh, well, we'll see. And then sometimes you come off a conversation and you go, oh, I can't wait for that person to get back to me because I know it's going to be something of value. And I know when people have conversations with you, because that's the experience I have. When you ring, I quickly answer because I know it's going to be a great conversation. So I know that's the experience that you give to everybody. So on that note, from me and just for anybody that is listening, just thank you so much, Ali, for coming on. And, thank you so much for that time.
Thank you, Guy. I really appreciate it. It's been great.
That's it. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please share so others get to hear about us, and subscribe so you keep up to date on new episodes. Also visit livingbrave.com if you want to connect with me and find out more about executive coaching, team effectiveness and changing culture. Oh, and of course you can buy my book Living Brave Leadership on Amazon. So on that note, see you soon.